Last time, we met the northern mockingbird, the bird that remembers your face and imitates your dog. But there is a bird in your backyard that does something more disturbing. It does not copy your dog. It copies you, your words, your phone ringtones, your car alarms, your keyboard clicks, and sometimes entire sentences you didn't even know it heard. You have seen this bird 1,000 times. You have probably called it invasive. You have probably thought it was ugly. You have no idea, because 240 years ago, a man in Vienna paid 34 kreuzer for one of these birds, and 10 days after it died, he wrote a piece of music that historians still argue about today. His name was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. By the end of this video, you will understand why. Most people see this bird flock in a parking lot and think nothing of it. They watch it push out songbirds, monopolize feeders, and squawk at cats. They call it a pest. That is not wrong. But it is very, very incomplete, because inside the head of that pest is a brain that can do something no other backyard bird can. It can learn to speak your language, word by word, sentence by sentence. And it has been proven in the laboratory, documented since the 1980s, and known to musicians for over 400 years. Let me introduce you to the European Starling. Scientific name, Sturnus vulgaris, small, glossy, iridescent black with white speckles in winter and a bright yellow beak in spring. Slightly smaller than a robin. You have seen it in parking lots, on roofs, on power lines, in flocks of hundreds. It looks common. It is. 200 million of them live in North America. Every single one of them descends from 60 birds released in Central Park in 1890 by one man, a pharmaceutical millionaire named Eugene Schieffelin. But that is the second half of the story. Let's go to the first half first. Because in Vienna, on the 27th of May, 1784, a man walked into a pet shop and heard something extraordinary. The shopkeeper had a starling in a cage. That starling was singing the theme of the finale to the man's own piano concerto. Concerto number 17, K453. The problem was that concerto had not been publicly performed yet. The starling should not have known it, but it did. The man was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. He paid 34 kreuzer on the spot, and he took the bird home. For the next 3 years, that starling lived in Mozart's apartment. It rearranged his melody, adding a small alteration that Mozart wrote down in his diary next to the original, and labeled with 3 words, "That was beautiful." The starling died on the 4th of June, 1787. Mozart buried it in his garden. He recited a poem at the burial. He wept. 10 days later, he finished a piece of music titled A Musical Joke, in musikalischer Spaß, K522. It is a piece full of wrong notes, off-key phrases, and melodic sentences that go nowhere. Musicologists have argued about it for over 200 years. Some think it was a satire of bad composers. In 1990, a psychologist named Meredith West published a paper in American Scientist proposing something else. She said K52 was a tribute to Mozart's starling, because a musical joke sounds exactly like a starling would sing. But how does a bird small enough to hold in your hand learn a Mozart concerto? The answer is anatomical. A starling has a vocal organ called the syrinx. Unlike your voice box, the syrinx has 2 independent chambers. Each one can produce a different sound at the same time, which means a starling can sing 2 notes simultaneously, its own harmony. And the range of frequencies it can produce goes from 1.8 kilohertz to 8.4 kilohertz. That range covers most of human speech, including yours. In the 1980s, Meredith West and her research team did something no one had done before. They hand-reared starling chicks and exposed them to specific sequences of human speech every day. The birds grew up, and when they started singing as adults, embedded in their songs were the phonemes, the vowels, the consonants, the tonal inflections of the humans who raised them. Not just imitations, integrated pieces of language, threaded into a starling's own song. Follow-up studies have shown starlings prefer to learn from female voices over male voices. They can distinguish specific human individuals from voice alone. And they can, under the right conditions, learn to string words together into what sounds like a sentence. If you have ever seen a viral video of a bird saying hello or come here and thought it was a parrot, look again. Half the time, it is a starling. And here is the wild part. A parrot needs years of intensive training and human contact to speak. A starling can pick up the sound of your kitchen microwave in 3 weeks. Now let's go back to Central Park, 1890. A man named Eugene Schieffelin, a wealthy New Yorker and president of something called the American Acclimatization Society, released 60 European starlings into the park. He released 40 more the next year. There is a popular story that Schieffelin did this because he wanted every bird mentioned in Shakespeare's plays to live in North America. Shakespeare mentioned the starling once in Henry IV, Part 1. A character wants to teach a starling to say the word Mortimer over and over to torture an enemy. That story about Schieffelin has been retold for over 130 years, except it isn't quite true. The Shakespeare motivation was invented in 1948 by a writer named Edwin Way Teale. No document from Schieffelin himself, no letter, no newspaper interview ever mentioned Shakespeare. Historians now think Schieffelin was doing what 19th century acclimatization societies did. He was trying to make America more European. He also, according to his 1906 obituary, was trying to get rid of caterpillars in his garden. Whatever his reason, 100 birds became 200 million. They spread from coast to coast in 50 years. They pushed out native cavity nesters, colonized farmlands, and became one of the most successful invasive species in the history of the continent. But here is what nobody in 1890 could have known. They also brought with them, into your backyard, a brain capable of learning your voice. Every English starling, every Vienna pet shop starling, every Central Park descendant, the same species, the same syrinx, the same intelligence, the same ability, quietly, patiently, to file the sound of you saying good morning to your dog into a memory it will still use 2 winters from now. Fast forward to today. Search online for talking starling. You will find a small industry of people who have raised orphan starlings by hand and taught them to speak. There is Mr. Star, a rescued starling from London, who can say, "Come on, love," in an accurate British accent. There is Arnie from the 1983 memoir, Arnie the Darling Starling, by Margaret Sigel Corbo, who could recite lines from Shakespeare and yell his own name. There are hundreds of amateur videos of starlings mimicking their owners saying, "Hello, shut up," or a phone ringtone in perfect pitch. And here is the part that will probably not sit well with you. You do not need to keep a starling to be its student. A wild starling perched on your gutter can hear you, your voice, your favorite phrase, the tune you whistle while you shave, the way you say your dog's name. If you repeat any of those sounds often enough, over enough weeks, in earshot of a starling territory, they might get filed, recorded, rehearsed, and one day played back in a song sung to a female starling in a nesting hole 2 blocks away. So let's finish the story your backyard is telling. Last time, we met the mockingbird, the librarian of your backyard. The mockingbird remembers your face. The mockingbird copies your dog. The mockingbird knows what time you come home. But somewhere in the same yard, quieter than the mockingbird, sits a bird with black and white feathers, a yellow beak, and a 2-chambered voice box. That bird has been listening too. But it isn't recording your dog, it's recording you. The chickadee runs the alarm system. The titmouse runs the chickadee. The mockingbird copies them all. The starling? It copies you. Mozart wept for his starling. He wrote music for it. He buried it. He recited a poem. And your starling, the one on the wire above your driveway right now, is quietly writing a piece of music too. You are the composer it stole from. You have no idea what tune it will play, but it will play something. And somewhere, someone will hear it, and they will not know it came from you. Except now you know. But here is something I did not tell you. The starling copies your voice. The mockingbird copies your dog. The titmouse commands the flock. But there is a bird in your backyard that commands all of them. A bird that gives orders without opening its beak. A bird that other birds obey without knowing why. Next time, we will meet the silent commander of your backyard. And it has been giving you orders too. You just haven't noticed. If this changed how you see the bird outside your window, subscribe. And in the comments, tell me, what is the strangest thing you have ever heard a starling say? I read everyone.